Hey, wake up. I need a cinephile script. We need to get stuff uploaded or we're going to lose subscribers. Oh, sweet. You already have one. What movie is it? Is it good this time? I need something that's simple and not confusing at all after doing Beach Party. Oh, it's a very straightforward film with no confusing mindfuckery, but you won't tell me what it is because it's a surprise? I see. Can I get a clue? The what must what? The spice must what? Oh, what are you, a basic white girl? I'm not going to Starbucks right now. We have a show to do. Wait. Are you talking about drugs? I thought you were clean. Okay, I am so confused. I have no idea what drugs have to do with space travel. So, like space drugs? Hey there, I'm Carmilla. I'm a cinephile, and I've always been a cinephile. When I was growing up, movies were the things that got me through life. They were the art I consumed. I didn't become a reader until middle school, and didn't discover the wider world of music until about the same time. So before then, it was the movies I escaped into, and boy did I consume a lot of them. I say that like I somehow started consuming less movies after the age of 13, which is absolutely ridiculous. But that's not important. Moving on. The two movies that spoke to me most are Mad Max and The Terminator. Sure, the sequels to both films were cultural watersheds and cinematic masterpieces that changed the landscape of cinema, but there was something about those gritty, low-budget originals that really moved me, which is what art is all about. My insatiable appetite for cinema has led me in search of movies that remind me of those two, and it's those discoveries I want to explore here. I want to find out what about those films spoke to me and why they still do, and what, if anything, they have to say today. So, let's see what's on the reel today. Ooh, trendy. We're gonna ride that like Fremen on a sandworm. Dune is a 1984 film written and directed by Alan Smithee. No wait, that's not right. Dune is a 1984 film written and directed by David Lynch. You may recognize David Lynch as the surrealist filmmaker responsible for lots of confusion, uncomfortable scenes, and Twin Peaks.
Who do you think this is there?
Suffered some bumps in the old noggin himself.
What the hell did he say there, Albert? That's Special Agent Dale Cooper. For God's sakes, Jeffries, where the hell have you been? You've been
Starring Kyle MacLachlan in his feature film debut, Francesca Annis, Sean Young, Everett McGill, Kenneth McMillan, Cyan Phillips, Jurgen Prochnov, Patrick Stewart, Paul L. Smith, Sting, Dean Stockwell, and Brad Dourif. Also featuring Jose Ferrer, Richard Jordan, Max von Sydow, Virginia Madsen, and Alicia Witt. Jesus, that's even more characters than Solar Babies. You may recognize Kyle MacLachlan as that guy from that David Lynch movie, the one you only watched because some pretentious film snob told you should, and you followed along okay for the first half hour or so, but then it just got super weird and confusing, and you weren't sure you even got the right movie, or if you did, sitting through this wasn't worth hooking up with that film snob no matter how cute they were. Then you fell asleep and missed the second half anyway. And a whole lot of other things, like, seriously, Kyle MacLachlan's been in so many things. The supporting cast is illustrious, including Patrick Stewart, who needs no further introduction. You may recognize Sean Young from Blade Runner and Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. Dean Stockwell famously played Al in Quantum Leap and infamously played Wilbur Wheatley in the Dunwich Horror. Sting more famously fronted 80s new wave band The Police. Brad Dourif is... You know what? There are too many actors and characters to do this for each one. Just go look it up on IMDb. Most of the actors were in some neat stuff. Let's move on to the thesis. Dune is a film about imperialism? Yeah, let's go with imperialism. It's better than saying it's about space drugs. Up first, Virginia Madsen shows up and tells us it's really far in the future, but don't worry too much about the rest of it. House Harkonnen and House Atreides, two households, both alike in dignity, in dry Arrakis where we lay our scene, have been at odds for some time. The Emperor is on the side of House Harkonnen, who also are currently in control of a mining planet called Arrakis, where the spice melange is harvested. The spice is used by the Spacing Guild navigators to fold space and allow long-distance space travel. We open on the Emperor's throne room, a place so gilded even Donald Trump and Saddam Hussein are jealous. He's visited by a holy shit, what is that thing? That's a guild navigator? Wow, she wasn't kidding when she said the spice mutated them. So anyway, the Emperor expositions all over the scene and tells the giant slug with the vagina mouth that House Harkonnen will be giving up control of Arrakis and House Atreides will take over, so Atreides will be weakened and destroyed, and Harkonnen the Emperor will control spice mining. But the Navigator wants to make sure that the young son of House Atreides, Paul, is killed. However, in the other room, eavesdropping psychically is a... Actually, let's simplify this for the sake of expediency. There are 4 groups to keep track of. The Harkonnen, the Atreides, the Bene Gesserit, and the Fremen. And everyone wants control of the planet Arrakis because it's full of magic space drugs. The Harkonnen are degenerate imperialist psychopaths. The Atreides are noble imperialists. The Bene Gesserit are space witches and they want to breed a super being or something. And the Fremen are the native people of Arrakis who don't want all this imperialism being done to them. They also want to ride worms, but I'm getting ahead of myself, and can we stop getting close-ups of that thing's mouth? Jesus Christ, Lynch. So we're introduced to the only character you need to keep track of, Paul Atreides, the son of Duke Leto and Lady Jessica. We meet Jean-Luc Picard, Wilbur Wheatley, and this dude with giant eyebrows. And they train, and Paul is a badass with his shout laser and 1984 CGI force field. Then the Bene Gesserit lady shows up and gives Jessica shit for not having a girl and not doing eugenics like she was supposed to. And now some stupid boy might be the quasi-hatter? Cars-itch-hatcher? Caster Hitchaks? The Cataract Hadouken. Then we meet the Harkonnens. The gross fat guy who flies. Brad Dourif, who also has giant eyebrows. Sting making a crazy face. And some other guy who's supposed to be important but isn't. Seriously, Sting, stop making that face. You're creeping me out. Stuff happens. Atreides gets to Dune, and we're finally introduced to the real star of the film, the motherfucking sandworm. And then it eats the director.
Gods, what a monster.
We meet the Fremen, who are currently having an imperialism done to them and working as staff in the Duke's palace. There's some Harkonnen sabotage and someone tries to kill Paul, but as I said before, he's a badass, so he's fine. Then the Harkonnen come back to attack and take over and kill a bunch of people, including Al and the Duke. Paul and Jessica escape into the desert and meet the Fremen, led by this guy. and find out that the Fremen have been guarding a secret water source under the desert. You get that joke from the Solar Babies episode now? So Paul meets and apparently falls in love with Rebecca from Blade Runner. Also, Jessica is pregnant now, the script just decided, and she gives birth to the baby who will eventually grow up to be this creepy-ass little girl. And maybe she's the cataract Hadouken, but it really doesn't matter. Paul then leads the Taliban against the Americans. Wait, sorry, wrong imperialism. Paul then leads the Mujahideen against the Soviets. Wait, sorry, still the wrong imperialism. Paul then leads the Fremen against the Harkonnen. That's the right imperialism. We have a montage glossing over what is arguably the more interesting part of the movie, of Paul leading a rebellion. The Fremen ride some sandworms, shoot the shout lasers, and take over Arrakis. Paul has a knife fight with Sting and his creepy smile and wins the day. Then Paul makes it rain up in this bitch! The water kind, not the money kind, and yes, I am going to use that joke in multiple episodes so long as movies rip each other off. Really, man? Dune? You made me watch Dune? You promised no mindfucks. Oh, it made perfect sense to you? Were you high on nip when you watched it? Yeah, I thought so. I mean, it is about as far from the California surf scene as you can get. Strangely, there's still a lot of surfing in it. Yes, I do actually like this movie, but that's beside the point. Now I need to go explain to everyone what the hell it's actually about. We're not talking about the book. And this isn't even the right book. The movie needs to stand on its own merits. Yes, I do understand that's going to make my job more difficult, but that's the whole point of the show. The first time I saw Dune, my mother had rented it. I looked it over and got really excited because the box art placed it squarely in the camp of things I like watching, which is the whole point of the show. What I ended up with was something very different, however. Mad Max, this is not. So let's explore what this film is. As I said in my thesis statement, Dune tells a story of imperialism. A remote and inhospitable place has a vital resource everyone wants, but those with more money and power take it from the people who already live there. But that's not the extent of it. Both the Harkonnen and the Atreides treat the Fremen as second-class citizens, relegated to servant work. The film tries to paint the Atreides as these noble imperialists, but they're still imperials. They still deny the Fremen their land and their culture, and take the spice which is vital to their way of life. The film paints the Harkonnen as sadistic psychopaths to serve as villains, but when it comes to the treatment of the Fremen, one imperial dictator is the same as any other. The film also falls into some dangerously racist territory. Paul is the classic example of the white savior trope. The trope says that a native, non-white population is inferior and can't fix their own problems or have reached a point of stagnation until a white guy comes along and fixes everything. The fact that this film casts white actors to play the Fremen doesn't change the usage of this trope. It wasn't an accident I made reference to the Afghani people, which is where the white savior trope becomes dangerous. It leads those in positions of power to believe that they're better, smarter, stronger, whatever than the people who are already there, prompting virtuous white guys to roll in with guns and take over for the good of the people, who never asked them to show up in the first place. Then atrocities usually ensue. The US invasion of Iraq was called Operation Iraqi Freedom, for fuck's sake. The British built a globe-spanning empire on the back of this very belief. The Germans gave it a go, but got punched back.
Well, when's the last white people you can remember that we bombed? Can you remember the last white? Can you remember any white people we've ever bombed? The Germans. The Germans are the only ones. And the only reason for that is because they were trying to cut in on our action. They wanted to dominate the world. Bullshit. That's our fucking job. That's our fucking job.
We need to recognize the very real problems this kind of thinking leads to. Africa isn't poor and war-torn because the people are stupid or degenerate. Africa is poor and war-torn because a bunch of white guys went in and fucked everything up. Now, I know what you're thinking. Dune is an expensive mess of incoherent nonsense that's barely a movie. And you're not wrong. I mean, I like this movie, and jokes aside, I didn't have any trouble following it the first time I saw it. I get why people don't like it though, no shade on them. The movie was destined to be a mess from the beginning. The producers wanted the next Star Wars, but what they got was a David Lynch movie. The movie even had toys made, and you bet your ass I have pictures. Now before you type those angry, pedantic comments, I know Lynch had only directed 2 movies at this point, and only one that anyone saw, so he wasn't exactly known as the guy who did Inland Empire. But still, who watched Elephant Man and thought he'd be a good choice for Dune? Reportedly, Lynch's cut of the film was over 4 hours long, but producers cut it down to 136 minutes with credits. It was so butchered from the original vision, and it shows. Lynch has disowned this film and won't even talk about it in interviews.
David, do you want to say anything about Dune?
Not a lot.
The problems the film has, however, don't erase the message portrayed. Imperialism is bad, and we need to not allow it to spread. Though, not through the efforts of some rando white guy. Always beware the rando white guy. Well, that's done. With the new Dune out, maybe people will watch this and we'll get the channel rolling again. Don't you dare say surf that trend. I will turn you into a tennis racket. Too soon, man. Nothing else to do but, oh shit, that's right. Can't forget to thank the Patreon peeps. The one whose name's on screen right now. Yeah, total legend. Of course, everyone watching is an unmitigated badass. Has everything finished rolling? Can I walk away now? There's a playlist and suggested video on screen. How long do those stick around?